lunch at the library today for children.
Two or what?
So we took him there with some of his cousins, and they both were exhausted. They're knocked out at home right now.
It's life.
Ini aku belakang. Backpack.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit down and do tarawih.
We're good to go.
Inshallah, yeah.
Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla, wa anta ya hayyu ya qayyum taj'alul hadna idha shi'ta sahla. I bear witness that no one deserves to be worshipped except Allah, the one who has no partner and no similar, the one with no length, no width, no depth, and no perimeter, the one who is not a volume and not in a place, and how could he be in a place when he existed before time and space? He speaks without sound, letter, nor language, not read. He's not a light, he's not a spirit, he has nothing in common with human beings. He's not in the direction of up, down, right, left, front, nor back, and whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is different from that. He created everything except himself, including you and your actions. Nothing happens except by his will, both good and bad, he destined to happen. And I bear witness that our noble, unrivaled Master Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the slave of Allah, his final messenger, and the greatest of God's creations. May Allah unite us with him in paradise and grant us a drink from his basin. And may Allah increase us in patience, humility, knowledge, and comprehension, and help us put our knowledge into practice and grant us the sincere intention. Allahumma ameen. Thereafter, we spoke about some details about Ad-Dajjal and the return of our Master Jesus Christ, Jesus, son of Mary. Some Muslims think we're not allowed to say the name Jesus Christ, but he is the Christ, or the Christos, or the Messiah, or the Messiah, which translates to the Anointed One. And after the next major sign, and for those who are not aware, from what is apparent, we only have two minor signs left before the major signs come about. The emergence of the gold in those rivers, the Euphrates rivers, and the emergence of Imam Mahdi, and that's it. That's how far along we've come along in human history. So, Allahu A'lam, if we will live to see the major signs, or if our children will live to see the major signs. It's not far-fetched. Every century, there were Muslims who thought, I will live to see the last of days. But it's even more so likely because gold emerging can happen overnight, and Imam Mahdi, it will happen. One of the signs documented is that Imam Mahdi's emergence will happen when the people least expect it, when they stop doing the Mahdi searching, as some people like to do. And so after Imam Mahdi emerges, and Dajjal emerges, and our Master Isa alayhi salam emerges, there would be the release of Gog and Magog. And these are humans. These are not a different type of creation like jinns and animals and angels. They are humans. And they descend from the son of Noah named Japheth. And their population is far beyond any nation on earth. And one of them does not die until he bears 1,000 sons. And behind a wall by the great Wali or the saint, Dhul Qarnayn. No, that is not Alexander the Great, as like some people like to think. And every day they toil and they dig behind this wall made out of melted copper and brass. And it's so smooth so they can't scale and climb the wall. And they cannot climb over it, so they dig through it, and finally when they break through and there's a hole, they say, perhaps tomorrow we will finish it. But of course, it refills and refills every day like that for thousands of years until they finally say, we will continue it tomorrow, inshallah. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the first few ayat of Surah Al-Yasin. And do not say you're going to do anything except saying if God wills. And mind you, these people are kuffar. These people are kuffar. And it shows it has nothing to do with intelligence. If Allah does not will for you to see the guidance, your intelligence, your cooperation is not going to help you. Because how many people do we have on earth now? About 8 billion. In some narrations, for every one of us, there's 100 of them. And in another narration, for every one of us, there is 1,000 of them. So in the least, there would be 800 billion of them. MashaAllah. Allahu A'lam if they're in a valley, underground. People have theories, Great Wall of China. Allahu A'lam, that's not the point. The point is to know Allah has blocked us from seeing people in the tens of billions. You see, Allah, He guides some people to find somebody, like the Secret Service, to find one person on earth. But we can't find tens of billions. This is the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No creation, no cooperation of any creation can overpower the will of Allah and the qudra of Allah. And so when they return and they see their work remains as it was last night, meaning they can pick up where they started. If this is what Allah granted them as kuffar, and they're kuffar because the Rasul alayhi salam, he interacted with them. He gave them da'wah, and they rejected him. Waliyadu billah. May Allah protect us from that. So if Allah answers the dua of the kafir, then surely He answers the dua of the Muslim. MashaAllah. And there are some Muslims that their dua is answered, it's maqbool, regularly. For example, the dua of the parent for their child or against their child. The dua of the traveler, the dua of the righteous person, the dua of the one in sujood, the dua of the one who is fasting. MashaAllah. Even the dua of the oppressed person. The Prophet ﷺ said, even if he's a kafir. So you can't say, oh, he's a non-Muslim, so X, Y, and Z. Do injustice to them. So this is what Allah grants them. Imagine what He grants us by relying on Him, saying inshallah, and seeking the means. And so Gog and Magog, or Ya'juj and Ma'juj, these two tribes, they make a hole wide enough to escape, and then they start pouring out in great numbers. And they will murder the people, break into houses, destroy the trees, eat the foods, to the extent where they can gather around a pond, and just by putting their mouth into the pond, they can suck up and finish the whole pond. These are not stories, these are not fables, this is reality. And a lot of times we feel comfortable, including myself, saying, but I won't live to see that time when my iman is tested. And that thinking, whether you say out loud, or whether you say it internally, or whether you act upon it subconsciously, that way of thinking in and of itself is ingratitude to Allah. Because I don't see any real threat around me, I'm going to continue doing the negligence and the haram. People are scared to pull out their cell phones at work because the threat is real. You might get a call from HR, someone might report you. But Allah may let us go for years or decades without any punishment You can make haram money and fornicate and backbite and steal and do this and do that, and you may not even see the result of it against you for years. So this leads people to think as if Allah does not exist, mashallah, as if the threat of Allah is not real. Give me 1 second. But Allah, He is Al-Ra'uf. He gave us these signs as a mercy to us, and it's upon us to take advantage of these signs. We missed the signs of when He said one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah is the Masjid will be filled with people and empty of guidance. This is why, as I was telling you earlier and some other people I talked to, it doesn't matter if the masjid is full or not. That's not the praise. The praise is in having quality sessions of knowledge, quality people. If we have a masjid filled with 500 people, but the imam is misguiding them, as is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he said one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah is that Allah, He takes away the knowledge, not by bringing death, but by, not by erasing it from the heart, but rather by bringing death to the scholars, one by one, till no scholars remain. So imagine for a moment a world with no ulama, no mashayikh, no muftis, no pir, no whatever title you want to give, hazrat, maulanas, khalifas. So what happened as a result? Is everyone just saying, we need shaykh, we need scholars, what happened to them? No. And the people, democracy, the people will appoint ignorant imams for themselves. And these ignorant imams, they say, oh, I don't know. They're lacking the ikhlas, the sincerity and the honesty, the religious integrity. No, the hadith continues. They appoint ignorant imams for themselves, and those ignorant imams, they give fatwa without knowledge. So people accept it. You apply that on a mass scale. You see why we live in a time now where if you ask the average Muslim in Metro Atlanta, who was the Imam al-Tahawi? What was his contribution to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Someone might say, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, I'm just Muslim. Or I follow Quran and Sunnah. The Shafi was a man and Abu Hanif was a man and I'm a man. They make mistakes, I make mistakes. A'udhu billah, they went so far off. Yani it's one thing to be ignorant. We all have a little bit of ignorance to some extent. But there's 4 types of man. The man who knows, and he knows, and that's the scholar, so follow him. And the man who knows, but he doesn't know that he knows. He's asleep, so shake him awake so he can benefit the people. And the man who doesn't know, and he's aware he doesn't know, he's the ignorant person, so guide him, help him. And lastly, the one who doesn't know, and he's unaware that he doesn't know, he's a devil, so avoid him. فَضَلُّوا وَأَضَلُّوا, they misguide themselves and they misguide others. That's the end of the hadith. MashaAllah. So we're at that time where zina is widespread, where drinking alcohol is like drinking water, where every house has a musical instrument. When I was growing up, I said, will every house have a violin or a piano? I said, think that. MashaAllah. This was before the iPod. This was before Wi-Fi. This is the instrument right here. I can play any haram or halal music I want. MashaAllah. And the woman will give birth to her master, meaning the children run the parents, not the other way around. And the truthful one will be called a liar. And the deceitful one will be trusted. He will be called trustworthy. They're called minor signs for a reason. You might say, every nation has people who drink, every century has people who drink and fornicate and lie. But they're called major signs for a reason because these are things you cannot deny. And Gog and Magog, they will be alive while Jesus is still on earth. And what he do? He will take the believers to the mountain where Musa received the wahi. There's a lot of beautiful symbolism. Yani Musa, he took the people to the promised land. He tried to save them. He saved them from Fir'aun and his tyranny. And likewise, Isa alayhi salam, he will save us from the tyranny of an army way greater in number than Fir'aun. And so, it is here where Jesus Christ alayhi salam will supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his supplication will be answered. And Allah will release worms that will attach themselves to the necks of the people of Gog and Magog. And they will fall down in a fit and quake and die. And then the birds will come carry their bodies to the sea, and then rain will wash their edges, and the bounties of the earth will return again. So the dua of Jesus will be answered. But there were some dua of Jesus that was not answered. MashaAllah. Top 5 prophets. Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And so, what were these dua he made? He said, Ya Allah, make my nation the greatest nation. Allah did not answer. Like if he started thinking, make my nation the largest nation. Because if you have the largest nation, you get a reward for every practiced good deed, right? So he's thinking like that. Allah did not answer this dua for him. He did not accept this dua. So then he started thinking, because prophets are intelligent, he said, make me part of the greatest nation. If it's not my nation, let me be a part of it. How so? You would think, how would that happen? He just said, your nation will not be the greatest, and will not be the largest, so how will you be part of it? This is the humility of the prophets. And so this is why he ascended in the skies. He's in the second sky, and he is preserved. He will be knowledgeable about Al-Quran and the Hadith corpus, and when he descends, he will be part of the nation of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So when Jesus Christ comes alayhi salam, there will be no more madhabs, because the madhabs, in a sense, is when there's absence of explicit text. They had madhabs in the time of the Sahaba, as we mentioned before. Aisha was a mujtahida. Abu Bakr was a mujtahid. Umar ibn al-Khattab, Muawiyah radiallahu anh, Abbas, they were mujtahids. But if they're able to get the answer from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then that becomes set in stone. But there are times when the Rasul alayhi salam is not around and they had to make ijtihad. Or they're in another city or another nation. Right? We have Sahaba buried in China, we have 12 buried in Ethiopia, we have them everywhere. They're not going to be around the Rasul. During his life and after his life, they made ijtihad. Likewise, when Jesus comes, we'll be able to ask, Ya Sayyidina Isa, what's the real answer about this? The Hanafis and the Shafis, they disagree on this case. What's the real answer? Because what he receives what is wahi. And so we get definitive answers in that case. MashaAllah. May Allah grant us the honor of seeing our Master Jesus Christ alayhi salatu wasalam. That'll be the most prosperous time in human history. But if you're going to be alive in the most prosperous time, just know before the rainbow comes, there has to be a storm. Right? When Dajjal comes, he will be penetrating every house. And if you think it is just to memorize some verses of Quran, whilst not learning your Tawheed, you are fooled. Because Dajjal is a human and he's a body. That will be in front of you claiming prophethood and then claiming God. And if I split this person in half, will you worship me? And he'll do all these extraordinary matters that are not karamat, but rather these are things created by Allah. And if you worship this entity that exists in a place with a limitation, with a body, with a hand, then you have fallen victim to what the previous nations have, which is worshiping something other than Allah. Because when Allah mentioned in the Quran, He's attributed with yad. Yad is not an organ. And when Allah is attributed with wajh, that's one of His attributes, it is not a face. Because Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Qasas, in the 88th ayah, كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجَهَا. If you translate this literally, it would mean everything will be destroyed except the face of Allah. So, the face will remain, the hands obliterated, the feet obliterated, the chair he was sitting in, obliterated. La yajuz. This is the essence of idol worship. We as Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we believe in what Imam al-Bukhari said. You see, Imam al-Bukhari, he was not just a scholar of hadith. He wrote tafsir. And in the second volume of his Sahih, what does he say? كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهَا means what? إِلَّا مُلْكَ. Everything will be destroyed except the mulk of Allah. Which means what? The reality that Allah has dominion. Mulk is dominion. Because if nothing exists in the creation, Allah is still in control. Because the attributes of Allah do not come and go. I gain muscle and I can lose my muscle. I gain intelligence and I lose my intelligence. I can be eloquent and I can lose my eloquence. I can gain good manners. My attributes as a creation comes and goes. But Allah, He was Al-Khaliq, the creator, when there was no creations. And He was attributed with Qudra, power, when there was nothing to overpower. And so likewise, when the creations are wiped out before everything is brought back on Yawm al-Qiyamah, He will still be attributed with mulk. He does not gain and He does not improve or, what's the word I'm looking for? Recede? Digress. He doesn't, not digress, what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't improve or, you guys help me out, you guys are educated. Fail, He does not regress. It's been a very long day of fasting, mashallah. Allah does not change, the creations change. So if we're aware of this, even if you commit haram, even if you watch pornography, even if you're texting that girl in the way you should not, even if you're making haram money, even if you're missing your prayers, even if you're not doing your makeup prayers, even if you're a man, because you don't have a menstrual cycle, you have makeup fasts, if you hold on to this belief, this is what saved previous nations. Everyone commits sins. The imam with the imama and the beard and this commits sins. Only prophets are immune from sins. The moment you are thinking your sheikh or your pir or your maulana or a scholar is immune from sins, you have become deluded. Rather, we are smart enough not to act a fool at work, right? You guys have a job or go to school. You guys might have some jokes and act up and do haram or do things you would never do at work because you know how to act in certain places. Likewise, so does your local imam, your so-called sheikh, your hafiz. So we all commit sins except for the anbiya. So why am I saying this? Do not despair, oh, I'm a sinner, woe is me, I'm not the best Muslim, I can't catch up with people. Your job is just to learn and apply. And the thing is with salah, don't you have to put your foot in the sink and wash yourself and deal with the hot water, the cold water? Don't you have to pray when you're comfortable, when you're tired? Fasting, you have to refrain from food and drink. I like drinking more than eating during Ramadan. Drinking juice, not alcohol, just so you guys don't think anything. But the thing about Tawheed, Aqidah, it is not an active action, it is a state of being. For example, what country are you from, your family? Bangladesh. Do you actively have to be Bangladeshi? No. It is an intrinsic part of who you are. You hold on to your language, your identity. Yani, when you go to sleep, your language does not disappear. That's what it's like with the belief. So long as you hold on to it, which does not require burning calories and action, this is what saves a person in the end. And then if you want to go above and beyond and stop being negligent, because I promise you, and this is for anyone who's watching, who's making money, who thinks, oh, I'm an American, I don't have to learn my religion, that's from my religious dad, religious mom, I just want to make money. You're not cool for making money. Homeless people make money. Homeless people, they pay. Wallahi, one time I was watching a video, I was jealous of a homeless guy. He said, I make $100,000 a year panhandling. I said, man, I make like half of that. MashaAllah. SubhanAllah. Making money, wallahi, is not impressive. Having a degree is not impressive. I have degrees. Anyone can get a degree. I worked hard to get, my A's and B's, and the guy who got C's, his degree says the same thing as mine. Bachelor's of this, master's of that, doctorate of that. Everyone's degree says the same thing. That's nothing to brag about. You save all this money, you make all this money, you ignore the minor signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, the major signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, save, and then, like my friend who just passed away 2 weeks before Ramadan, rahimahullah, warahmatullahi. If you're watching this, at least recite a Fatiha for my beloved Zaki. The thing is, when he passed away, what do we remember him for? His adab, his akhlaq. He never does anyone wrong. No one cares what he did for a living. No one cares about his job. At the funeral, you say, man, his house was a nice house. I'm going to miss going there. Let me tell you something. How old are you?
21.
21?
17.
17? 31. Let me tell you something. This is not comfortable for you guys to hear. This is for you and you too. And the brothers in the back. The brothers in the back. When you die, all that money you saved, who does it go to?
Yes, sir.
No. Your wife's new husband. You work hard, you save all this money, and you're going to let another man enjoy it. Yeah. Saving is not haram. We're not discouraging saving. But when you make your goal so pinpoint and fixated on save, collect, like your Super Mario, let me grab this coin and this coin. And I still don't know anything about my Lord, but I know more about Drake and Kendrick's beef. I know about Trump coin, meme coin. There's nothing wrong with acquiring knowledge of the dunya. It's not haram. This is what a lot of sheikhs in America or so-called sheikhs try to delude you to, as if you should be ashamed of having nice things. The issue is when your nice things own you, you don't own your things. You love your fiance or your wife or your children. What happens when people go on dates or when they get to know each other? People don't like the word dating. When you go to your little gathering, try to get to know each other. Maybe it doesn't work out. Someone says, why didn't it work out? You say, man, like she wasn't interested in what I was interested in. Or, we didn't have the same likes, or, he's always talking about himself. You heard about that?
Yeah.
All he did is talk about himself and, his job and his company, and he goes to the gym and he travels and this and that. What's the big deal about that? Because you feel like if you don't want to know who I am, you don't appreciate me. Allah does not get affected by our haram, but when you do not care to know who your Lord is, it is a form of not appreciating Allah. We're not saying be scholars. I could sit here and tell you these nice stories of this companion and this and that, and you feel, oh, Imam, I'm so happy. You touched my heart, I want to come here. Hallelujah, Ameen. How can I help in the masjid? I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to give you story after story and like these Islamic personalities telling you all these nice stories. Have you noticed everyone on YouTube, no one is teaching you how to pray salah, how to make wudu, how to lead the Jum'ah? Because you're 21 does not mean you can't lead the Jum'ah. In fact, it's a fard al-ayn. Everyone is obligated. If the Imam does not show up, everyone has to know how to do it. You're going to miss the Jum'ah because, I didn't know. You don't have to be a scholar. But these people, they want to teach you, tajweed. We're going to talk about the seerah again. The seerah is one of my favorite. It changed my life. But why do you love the seerah? Because it makes you feel good? Are we Muslims of emotion? We just do whatever makes us feel good? Or is the seerah supposed to show us appreciation for Al-Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam? When he had the opportunity at his words, when the angel Jibreel came and said, just say the word, Ya Rasulullah, these people of Ta'if, between the two, it's about 80 kilometers, I believe, from Mecca, they all rejected him. They threw rocks on him until the blood poured from his honorable head down to his honorable feet, and there was so much blood it stuck to his sandal. And the angel said, just say the word and I'll crush them between these two mountains. And he would have had the right to do so. It would not have been haram. But he said, if I let them live, perhaps their descendants will become Muslim. That whole region is Muslim. Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, he was offered everything in the palm of his hands. Women, money, power, influence. Just don't do what? Stop talking about one God. Okay, we might give some, we'll pay charity for the orphans, but stop talking about this one God. This is what riled people up. When you look at Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, what made them angry? Is he calling charity and prayer? He's saying, one God who's not a statue, who's not a dwelling body in the sky. Musa alayhi salam, what does he call it? The worship of one God, not a man named Pharaoh. This riled people up. Devils are not just in jinn form, there are human devils. So anyone who gets riled up when we talk about Allah, this is a human devil. This person is trying to distract you from the first part of the Shahada. I know the 5 pillars of Islam. Why does everyone skip the first pillar and go to the other 4 pillars? And even that 5th pillar, Hajj, people want to do it when they're about to die, retirement. MashaAllah. Because if Iblis and his minions and his cronies can get you to forget the first pillar, the other four pillars really don't matter. What's the difference between a Muslim and someone like Oprah, someone like Shaquille O'Neal, someone like all these non-Muslims, and Mother Teresa who gives money? What's the difference?
Shahada.
The belief in God, the simplest part of Islam, the part that has no effort. Knowing that Allah does not need anything, Allah does not resemble anything, Allah is not obligated to do anything for you. Allah is not in the sky, Allah is not everywhere, Allah is not in the heavens, He's not on a chair, Allah is not above the throne, because all of these entities are creations. And Allah is not the creation. There is Allah, and then there are the creations, there are others. Allah is not in need of others. Allah does not need a place, a location, dark, light, up, down, front, left, right, back. Probably missed the direction. He does not need the moon, the stars. He does not need paradise. He does not need our worship. But why did He create us? To worship Him. We always hear about this ayah in the Quran. I'll talk louder, don't worry. But how about the Hadith Qudsi? In which, you guys know what a Hadith Qudsi is, right? It's a hadith in which the Rasul is saying, Allah is saying. So it's not an ayah of the Quran, but it's something Allah reveals to the Rasul alayhi salam. But because it's not part of the Quran, it's called a Hadith Qudsi. So the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said that Allah said, had it not been for Muhammad, I would have not brought the creations into existence. What does this mean? Had it not been for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I would have not brought anything into existence. Because he is the display of Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yawm al-Qiyamah is a celebration of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Why is a celebration of him? The largest nation. Every prophet, approximately 124,000 prophets, they spoke about this prophet. And if we get to enter Jannah, may Allah grant us that, Jannah is decorated with his name everywhere. Al-Mustafa, Habibullah, Ya Mudaffar, Ya Rasulullah. And as you guys know, throughout the entire Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls on his prophets, Ya Musa, Ya Isa, Ya Ibrahim, he never says Ya Muhammad. He always calls him by his honorifics. Ya Ayyuhal Muddathir, Ya Ayyuhal Muzammil. Everything is an honorific. He is the greatest of creation of all time. His birth was a celebration for the worlds. When he was born, this was one of the worst days for Iblis and his nation. Because Iblis, he let out a blood-curdling scream when what? When the Fatiha was revealed. He let out a blood-curdling scream when he was kicked out of paradise. He let out a blood-curdling scream when he was told he's damned forever. And he let out a blood-curdling scream when the Rasul was born. The day in which the castles of Basra dismantled, 1,000-year fire of the fire worshippers extinguished, and Allah created a light show, these celestial bodies, to honor Lady Amina radiyallahu anha, because she was a Muslim, like Sayyidi Abdullah, his father. And there's proofs for this in Al-Fiqh Al-Akbar. We can talk about that later, inshallah. And he sent down vessels of miski and amber and drink for her. And in some narrations, she was visited. When you have a hardship, don't you want your homies to visit you? Man, I'm just having a bad day. Can I slide through? She was visited by who? Lady Maryam. In a miraculous way. Just like Isra Mi'raj with the Prophet ﷺ, he met with all the prophets in Masjid Al-Ikhlas to pray. Likewise, Lady Amina bint Wahbi, she met with Lady Maryam. She met with Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun. She met with the woman who combed the hair of the daughter of Fir'aun. And Prophet Adam ﷺ visited her. and Idris, and Sheikh, and Ibrahim, and Musa, and Isa. MashaAllah. And when the Rasul ﷺ was born, this essentially was the first Mawlid, this first commemoration of the life of the greatest of creation, because he was not just sent to this tribe or that tribe. He is a mercy for everyone. For the righteous people and for the sinners like me. I don't wear the imamah because I'm righteous and I have a big status. I wear the imamah out of honoring the Rasul. Maybe this one deed will save me on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Lady Aisha, who was guaranteed Jannah, when she was on her deathbed, they said, Lady Aisha, what are you hiding under your cloak? She lifted her cloak and she had a piece of clothing of the Rasul. Is this because of like just for a keepsake, for memory? She said, I hope by the blessings of what he used to wear, just a trace of what he wear, Allah will protect him from punishment in the fire. Touch him, hug him, kiss him. When she drank from a cup, he would drink from the same spot. And as she drank back to the barakah, the saliva touches him. She got to stroke his hair. Tabarruk on tabarruk on tabarruk. And she is a waliyah, the daughter of a Siddiq, and she was a Siddiq herself. And yet her love and appreciation for Allah was so great. She didn't see herself as this big companion. She said, perhaps this cloak of the Rasul ﷺ, just the traces of what he had will save me from the fire. This is why some scholars, some awliya, if they got a piece of the hair of the Rasul ﷺ on their deathbed, they would bite it off and swallow it. Because why? No piece of the Rasul ﷺ will ever enter paradise. And he cannot be defecated out of you, and if you swallow a hair of his. They're thinking, these are awliya, these are scholars like As-Suyuti, Al-Bukhari, Ibn Hajj al-Asqalani, Al-Iraqi. But what are they thinking? I was not given my ticket to Jannah. Perhaps all my deeds are batil because I was insincere. So when Allah gives us the minor signs so we can fix ourselves and we're negligent, and when I remind myself and yourself there's only 2 minor signs before the 10 major signs, what is it going to take? We have to wait for the one-eyed imposter to come to our house and threaten us and our family. You see these movies, people put a gun, they tell us the code to the safe. Tell us this, tell us that, or else we're going to kill your family. People say, okay, go for it. He's going to threaten you and your family with his minions, with his army. You think the Dajjal is walking by himself? He has a whole army with him. We'll continue another time, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless you and reward you. We're going to call the adhan, inshallah ta'ala. And perhaps another time we will continue with the other signs.
3 minutes? Yeah, it's 3 minutes. Yeah, you can replay it. So this is subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
So you're enjoying the